Okay, good morning. It's March 3rd or March 23rd, Tuesday, and we're going to go over bar graphs today. So, yesterday we talked about pictographs, so who can tell me something you remember about yesterday? Kelsey?
They use the chart to find, and yesterday they were like, here's an example I saw. There was some cookies, and we counted by tens, I think, on them.
Okay, so sometimes pictograph, they count by different numbers, right? Count by tens, they can count by twos, so you have to use that thing at the bottom of the graph usually. Sometimes it's to the side, but most of the time it's at the bottom. What do we call that thing that tells you how much each symbol equals? A key. Good. So the key tells you how much the symbol is standing for. If it's 10 people or $100 or 10 cookies. Okay. So today for a bar graph, we're going to look at the scale. We talked about scale yesterday, and a scale on a bar graph is meaning what are you skipping by? What are the numbers going by on the bar graph, okay? Or what is it going from start to finish, okay? So the scale is counting by twos from 0 to 16. So that's your scale. Skipping by twos from 0 to 16, okay? So now let's go ahead and read, starting from the top. It says a bar graph uses bars to show data. A scale of equally spaced numbers helps you read the number each bar shows. The students in the reading group made a bar graph to record the number of books they read in October. How many books did Seth read? Okay, so let's go ahead, and I want you, like yesterday we went down and we circled the key. Today I want you to go down and circle from 0 to 2. Because why would I want to do that? Because right off the bat it's telling me that I'm not counting by ones, I'm counting by twos. Okay? That's important to know, especially when the bar stops in the middle. It's kind of like those pies and cookies when they were cut in half. You had to know what it equaled. So when this stops halfway, you have to know what it equals. Okay? So we're going to circle that. And now it asked us for Seth. How many books did Seth read? So then we're going to go on our bar graph and we're going to look at Seth. So everybody circle Seth. Now for a bar, we can start at the end of it and follow it down, and we can see that it lands at 8. Okay, so since it ends at 8, that tells me that Seth read 8 books in October, right? Okay, so let's look at Amy. Let me zoom in a little bit. I want you to take a second and see if you can figure out what Amy would equal. If you follow it down, think about what that would equal. It's not on the 8. It's not on the 10. It's in the middle. Okay, Evangeline, what would it be? 9. So just like the pictograph, what I like to do is also go and label my bar graphs. So Amy is 9. Seth, we said, was 8. Let's go ahead and label Kate. Kate is going to be 12. And Max is going to be 6. Okay? The reason we like to label our graphs first is because when you get ready to answer a bunch of questions on it, it's easier to just look at the numbers, right, than have to keep trying to figure out what that bar equals every time you answer a question. Okay, so always start by labeling. Okay, so let's go down to number 1. It says, how many books did Max read? Okay, so now we need to go up and find Max. See how easy it is now that we have it labeled?
Yes.
All we need to do is look at Max, and he read 6. Okay, number 2. Who read 4 fewer books than Kate? Okay, well here's Kate. Kate read 12, so we need to figure out which number is 4 less than that.
Ooh.
Allie, what would it be?
Seth.
Good.
Seth.
8 is 12, or 8 is 4 fewer than 12. So Seth would be the correct answer. Okay. So when it says fewer, that means you're looking for the number that's less. Okay, number 3. What if Amy read 5 more books? How many books did Amy read? Shade the graph to show how many she read. Okay, so everybody go to Amy. What if she read 5 more books? What would she equal? 9 plus 5, right? 14. So I need to shade her bar to 14. Well, here's 14. So I follow it up, and I need to make sure her bar goes all the way to that line.
And we'll be coloring our bar 9.
That's okay. Okay, so now how many books did she read? 14. Okay, let's flip the page. Okay, so now we're at the top of page 636. They're showing us that you can see a bar graph 2 ways. You can see the bars going across, and we can see the bars going up and down. Are these both showing the same information though? Yes, they're both talking about their favorite winter activity. It has the same categories or the activities. One is going along the side and one is going along the bottom. Okay, this has the number skipping by 4s all the way to 28 on the bottom, and this is going from 0 to 4 all the way to 28 on the side. Okay, so let's look at number 4. It says, what does each space between the numbers represent? What do you think that each space between the numbers represents? Kelsey?
They represent for like 4.
Okay, so all it means is that space is representing the numbers between 0 and 4, and it represents 4 students. So that space, that gap, is getting 4 more students each time, right, Allie? Okay, so it's going to skip by 4s each time. Number 5, how can you find the winter activity that the most students voted for using the graphs above? Okay, let's start on this one. If I'm looking at this graph, how can I tell which activity the most students chose? Evangeline? By looking at the numbers in the key. But what else? I wouldn't do that automatically. What would you look for? Before you look at the numbers, you can look at what else? What would you look at, Bryson? You would look at the bar. If I look at this one, the bar that's the longest, I can tell is the most, right? So I can automatically look up and see, oh, blue is the longest, so that means sledding has the most votes. Okay? I don't even really need to look at the numbers because I can tell by looking at the bar. Whichever bar is the longest. So how can you find the winter activity the most students chose for? By finding the what? not just the bar,
Remember?
by finding the longest bar, right? Or tallest over here on the right.
The tallest is blue.
Yes, over here the longest is blue and the tallest is blue, so that would be the most. Which one would be the least?
Like skating.
Skiing, good. It's orange. I can look at that bar and tell that it's the lowest. Okay? I don't even need to know the number. I just know that it's the least. Okay? Number 1. Now we're using this bar graph about spinners. Okay? Number 1 says, how many more times did the pointer stop on green than on purple? How many more? We hear that phrase so many times in math, so by now we should automatically hear that and think what?
If you
Subtract. I'm going to need to subtract. Okay? So I'm going to subtract green and purple. Okay, so I'm going to go over here to my graph. I see over here to the side it's going from 0 to 10. What does that mean? It's counting by tens. Okay? Now I'm going to label my bars. If I look at blue, it's on the 20. Good. So above that bar, I'm just going to go ahead and put 20. Green, if I follow it over, it's in between 30 and 40.
35.
Okay, good. Because half of 10 is what? 5. So if we stop in the middle, I need to go 5 more. So that would be 35. Okay. Red equals 40. Good. We follow it over. And then purple is 20. Good. Now I'm only needing to subtract green and purple. So green is 35. Purple was 20. Subtract them and you get 15. Okay, so the pointer stopped on green 15 more times than it did on purple. Okay, number 2. How many fewer times did the pointer stop on blue than on red and green combined?
Subtract.
There's 2 steps because I heard the word fewer, which means subtract, and I heard the word combine. So I need to combine by adding. Okay? Which 2 colors do I need to combine?
Red and blue.
Red and green. So I'm going to go ahead and put R plus G. Okay. Now let's look at red, which is 40. Green was how much? 35. So we're going to combine those 2. I'll give you a second to do that in your head. Hopefully you can do that in your head. 40 plus 35. Did y'all get it? What is it, Aaliyah?
75.
75. Good.
Oh yeah, I got 75.
Okay, but I've only done 1 step. It also said fewer. So I'm going to go back and read how many fewer times did the pointer stop on blue. So now we need to subtract blue.
75 minus blue.
Good. Blue was 20, so I do 75 minus 20. Okay, I'll let you work that out. Allie, are you following along? What was it, Bryson? 55. Good. 5 minus 0 is 5. 7 minus 2 is 5.
That's the final answer, right? Yeah.
That is the final answer. We've done both steps. How many fewer times did the pointer stop on blue than on red and green combined? Okay, number 3. What if there were 15 more spins and the pointer stopped 10 more times on green and 5 more times on blue? Okay, well let's just stop right there. I'm going to go ahead and figure out that first question. If it stops 10 more times on green, green would now have how many? Green has 35, and if it stops 10 more times, it's going to be 45. Good. Okay, and if it stops 5 more times on blue, let's see what blue would equal. Blue is at 20, and if it stops 5 more, it would be 25. Good. Okay. Now we're going to read the second part. How many more times did the pointer stop on green than on blue? Jalen, what does that mean? How many more? Subtract. So I'm going to subtract green from blue, right? 45 minus 25. Equals 20. Good. Okay, so your final answer would be 20. Y'all could have done that by yourself, couldn't you?
Yeah. That was pretty easy.
Okay, let's go ahead and look at the bar graph on the next page, 637. We're looking at Diego's DVDs. Okay, I'm going to let you do, let's see, let's try number 4, but before you do number 4, what do we need to do with this graph? Bryson? Okay, not the key, but the scale. Circle the scale, and what else?
So if it goes halfway, it'll be 1, because it's 0, then 6 is
Very good. You can make a note of that if you need to. Halfway would be 1. 1 more added because it's going by 2s. Okay, what else do you need to do before you start number 4?
circle the key.
No, there is no key. What do we do to the bars?
Label.
We label. Okay? All right, go ahead and do those things to the graph and then try number 4 on your own. Okay, so I've paused the video to give you guys time to work this problem out and to label your graph. So now let's go ahead and check and see how we did. Okay, so for animated DVDs, it was halfway between 12 and 14, so we should have labeled that 13. Okay. Comedy would be 12. Drama is 2. Action was 7. Good. It was halfway between 6 and 8, so that would be 7. Okay. Then the question for number 4 had you find 5 fewer of this kind of DVD than comedy. Well, I need to find comedy first, right? Comedy is 12. So 5 fewer means 12 minus 5, which would be 7. Good. So I look at my graph. 7 means it's action. So which kind of DVD? We would say action. Okay. Number 5, multi-step. Is the number of comedy and action DVDs greater than or less than the number of animated and drama? What does it mean when it says and, animated and drama? Do I need to add those two together, you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when it says comedy and action, that means you actually have to combine them, okay? So comedy and action means C plus A. I'm going to go ahead and write that down. Animated and drama means I'm going to put AN for animated, and then drama for D. Okay? So now let's go plug in the numbers. C plus A means I need to add 12 plus what?
12 plus 7.
7. Good. 12 plus 7 equals 19, right?
Yes.
Okay. Animated plus drama, so that's going to be 13 plus 2, 15. Good. Okay. Now I've done those things, but let's make sure I've actually answered the question. It says, is the number of comedy and action DVDs greater than or less than the number of animated and drama DVDs? Okay, so what do we think? Is comedy and action greater than or less than animated and drama?
Great.
It's greater than. Okay, number 6. It says hot, so it's supposed to be a little bit more challenging. It says, how many DVDs does Diego have that are not comedy DVDs? What does that mean if it says not comedy? We want to add all the ones that are what? Not comedy. Okay, so I need to add all the numbers up except for 12. Good. So I have 13, 7, and 2. Okay, 13 plus 7 is 20. 20 plus 2 is 22. Okay, now I don't want, we're not going to do all these problems right here, but for this graph, I want you guys to practice looking at the scale and labeling. So that's all we're going to do, and then we're going to flip to the next page. Okay? So look at this graph and label all of these bars. Okay, let's go. Ooh, sorry about that. Let's go ahead and look at our bars. So if I look at animals, I follow it down. It lands on 30. So we label that 30. Okay? But before you had started to label, hopefully you went down here and you circled 0 to 6. So that means it's skipping by 6's. So if something lands in the middle, I have to know what is half of 6.
Half of 6 is 7. 3.
What is half of 6? 3. Okay, so if it stops in the middle, then that means I need to add 3 to it. Not 6, but 3. Okay, so if I'm at plants, I need to take 0 and add 3. So it would be 3. Okay, space. It's not on 18, but if I take 18 and add 3 more to it, since this is in the middle, what would it equal? 21. Good. Okay, now rocks, it does land right on the line. You follow it down and it's 18. Same thing for oceans, 12. Okay, that's all you needed to do. So you've got to know the halfway mark. Okay, if it skips by 6's, half of that would be 3. Okay. All right, let's flip the page.
Can we do this one by ourselves?
Yes, you guys are going to do this page by yourself, and then we will go over the answers together. So 10, 11, 12, 13, using this bar graph at the top. So before we even answer the questions, what should I see?
Label.
Label that graph. Okay. So let's go ahead and check 10 through 13. Art, you should have labeled as 13, right?
Yes.
Because if you're looking at the scale, it's skipping by 2s. So if I go halfway between 12 and 14, it's going to be 13. Okay, boating, you should have labeled 8. Kickball would have been 9. And swimming should have been 12. Okay? So number 10 says, the camp director made a bar graph of the activities that campers chose last week. How many campers chose kickball? So kickball should have been 9. B. Okay, number 11. How many fewer campers chose boating and kickball combined than chose art and swimming combined? Okay, so we got to combine two different things, right?
Yes.
And then you had to do one more thing. After you combined them, you had to do what?
Subtract.
You had to subtract. Good, because how many fewer means subtract. Combine means to add, and we had to do that twice. So I'm going to combine boating and kickball, and then I needed to combine art and swimming. Art plus swimming. So boating, you should have added 8, and kickball was 9. So for B plus K, we do 8 plus 9, and we get 17. Okay? And then you had to combine art and swimming. So I'm going to combine 13 and 12. And you should have gotten 25. Now the last step is to see how many fewer campers chose that. So you need to then go and subtract.
Subtract the sum.
I need to take these two numbers and subtract them, making sure the big one goes on top. 25 minus 17. We need to borrow. 15 minus 7 is 8. Very good. Okay, so A is correct. How many of you guys got that one correct? Very good. These are the types of questions you will see, guys. Combining and then subtracting. Okay? Multi-step problems. Okay, number 12. How many campers in all chose a favorite camp activity? So all you had to do was add all of the numbers, right?
Yes.
Because it says how many campers in all. So 13 plus 12, we've already done. 25. And then 8 plus 9, we've already done, and we got 17. Then you should have added 25 plus 17. 5 plus 7 is 12. Carry the 1. 1 plus 2 plus 1. 4. Okay, so D was the correct answer there. And the last one, how many campers chose a water activity? So anything that had to do with water, which would be what?
Swimming and boating. Boating and boating.
Swimming and boating. So boating was 8. Swimming was 12. 8 plus 12 is 20. So C was correct.
I got them all right. Me too.
Okay, very good. Alright, so what you're going to do now for your seat work, we're not going to do the bar graph page in the book. We're going to do like we did yesterday, and we're going to take these and glue them in our spiral. So the steps I need to see you doing is circling the scale. What is it skipping by?
Skipping by 10.
And labeling your bar graph. Okay, then at the very end, you're going to have the same thing we did yesterday. You're going to take a bar graph and answer 6 different questions on this. Okay? It's using those same words we've been practicing, guys. How many more? In all, how many fewer? So we shouldn't be stumped on these questions. They should be easy for us, okay? If you are stuck on how to figure out what the bars equal, then raise your hand and I will come around and help you. This one is a little bit trickier because it's skipping by what?
100.
100. So what would be in the middle of that? 50. Okay. So that's your assignment for today. We're going to label these 4 little graphs, and then we're going to answer these questions on the big graph. Okay? Any questions?
No.
All right.